Today we have a ton of brand new Nintendo news and updates to talk about. Tomorrow we're actually going to be getting a brand new Nintendo showcase presentation. It's going to be a direct followed by a treehouse. On top of that, we actually have some good news for Nintendo and even something that the CEO of Nintendo have shared that could entail some OG games being brought over to the Switch 2, hopefully sooner than we are thinking. And this presentation tomorrow is good news because I think it's going to lead us into the Zelda Ocarina of Time Direct and hopefully a treehouse as well. So make sure to stay tuned to this video. And right before we do hop into all the news and stuff today, I would greatly appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel. Help reach my goal of 10K. Guys, we are getting so insanely close. So let's see if we get today's sub goal of 20 subscribers. Let's hop right into it today. All right, so I'm sure most of you guys actually do know about this, but tomorrow is going to be the Splatoon Raiders Direct, and it's going to be followed by a treehouse, which will last about 30 minutes, the treehouse specifically. And the Direct for Raiders is going to be about 20 minutes long. And if everyone's predictions are correct, this should be leading us directly into a Zelda Ocarina of Time remake Direct that will have a treehouse right after, sometime in July, because obviously this month is basically over. They're not going to do a Zelda Direct this month in June, but in July it most likely will happen, or it could even be August. But I think it's safe to say that it is going to happen where we do get some sort of Direct followed by a treehouse, and I think it would be even longer than the Splatoon Raiders one because I mean, it's Zelda Ocarina of Time. It's one of the best games ever made in the eyes of many people. So with that being said, it's a very important game for Nintendo, and they are going to want to show it off in a good and grand way to actually get people hyped for it, even though people definitely are already hyped for the Ocarina of Time remake. But let me know if you guys are excited for Splatoon Raiders. Are you guys going to watch the Direct and the treehouse tomorrow? I'm definitely excited for this game, and I'm really interested to see exactly how this game plays out. Now in today's video, I think my favorite story I'm going to save for last because I think it's got to be maybe one of the most important pieces of today's video. So before we talk about that, this is some more good news for Nintendo right here. The Switch 2 actually ended its full year in the US at nearly 6 million units sold, which is actually the second fastest selling video game system. Now I know a lot of people are probably going to assume like, oh, 6 million in the US isn't that much, but you got to remember, like, this is only in the US. They are selling millions of units in other countries as well, and the Switch 2 is genuinely doing way better than I assumed it was going to do. The Switch 2 ultimately is basically a Switch Pro, but with that being said, I love the Switch 2. I gotta be honest, it is a perfect upgrade for the Switch. It is the second fastest selling video game system in the US, with tracked history back to 1995, which the only other platform to outdo the Switch 2 was the Game Boy Advance with 6.5 million units. So it is not that far behind the Game Boy Advance. That's awesome. Obviously the Game Boy is huge, like everybody knows Game Boy. I mean, everybody knows Nintendo in general, but it is just really interesting to see that the Switch 2 is doing very well. It has zero signs of slowing down, and the reason why I also say this is good news is because it's just going to amp up Nintendo even more. Like, it's just going to give them more motivation to keep on pushing forward with bigger and better Nintendo games, you know, bigger Mario games, Zelda Ocarina of Time game. It seems like they poured a lot of money into his way forward, which obviously they pour a lot of money into every game, but it sounds like they put a little bit more into the Ocarina of Time remake. So, and on the complete opposite side of that, Xbox has hit its worst US sales month on record. PS5 drops 58% as the hardware prices soar. Honestly, not even a big surprise. Xbox and PlayStation raising their prices and not really giving us games. I mean, they really are not giving us many games. I mean, PS5 has Wolverine coming up, a couple other, you know, titles that are coming out eventually, but overall, Nintendo, man, they are giving us a lot of games. They're hyping us up for the future. Yes, they are raising the console price, but I've said it once, and I probably will say this again in the future. They only raised it by $50, which obviously I don't like the price. It's very expensive, but just in comparison to the other consoles, it's definitely cheaper, which is just wild to even say. Honestly, just seems like Nintendo are going to keep this ball rolling, and they're going to keep growing and hopefully giving us some fun games. I'm just going to, you know, hope for that. However, we did just have Nintendo comment on the Switch 2 production, basically, you know, with the cost of everything like that. And Furukawa did admit that the situation is quite dire. According to the Nintendo president, the rising memory price made a minimal impact on the last fiscal period, but now the company is seeing more effects in the current term. With no end in sight for memory struggles, we have to wonder if Nintendo's situation, much like all other tech companies, could go from bad to worse. I'm really hoping Nintendo could just stay strong and, I don't know, man, just not raise the price again, or if they have to, just, you know, raise it very minimally. But it's genuinely possible that Nintendo could be raising the price eventually for the Switch 2 again, but as of right now, I just do not see them doing that anytime soon, and I think it would really slow them down. And if you're gonna ask my opinion, my theory is that they're probably trying to make up for that loss of revenue that they could have or will have with the Switch 2 2 and port into the games, hopefully sell more games. They probably will give us more DLC, which most likely going to be a paid DLC, but I think they're going to try to eat some of that cost just so they can continue to sell the console. And of course they have like the Switch Online where people pay the subscription, and of course they do have a ton of other sources of revenue, so it's not like they're only going to be making money on the Switch 2 console. So I really just hope that they stay strong, and I really hope that this doesn't lead to a rising cost of the Switch 2 again, aside from when they're going to raise it in September. And before we get to the last story today, here are all the upcoming Nintendo games in July of this year. So we have Rhythm Heaven Groove coming out in a couple of days. We have Grand Blue Fantasy. We have Digimon Storytime Stranger, Splatoon Raiders. We have Final Fantasy, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the Switch 2 edition. So honestly, July is a pretty good month. Definitely some fun games in there, guys. Which one of these are you going to pick up? Are you going to play all of them, just a couple of them, or none of them? All right, now let's move on to my favorite topic, and I actually do want to make an entire video about this separate from today's video, but I just want to bring it up because it's some good news. But yeah, I want to like break this down even further and like what they could do, what their ideas are behind this. So basically, a Nintendo shareholder asked the president if DS and 3DS games will come to the Switch 2, and the answer I would say is pretty good, where Furukawa is saying that I can't answer your question specifically, but we are working to make our valuable back catalog playable on current hardware wherever possible. So he kind of like dodges the question a little bit, but also answers it. So this could entail more than just DS and 3DS. Like that makes it sound like everything, such as Wii, more Game Boy, more GameCube, Wii U stuff, which a lot of Wii U stuff has already been, you know, brought over to the Switch 2 basically. But it seems like they're going to try to make a way for this to actually work, because obviously the DS has 2 screens and the Switch only has 1. But of course I have a separate video that I do want to make all about this, because I have more theories based on some patents that we have, or just ideas, because this is Nintendo we're talking about. They're always extremely creative, so I think they could come up with some way to make it work on one single screen, at least for some games, because I know some certain games like really do rely on that second screen. So I guess we'll have to see, I guess, what happens with that. I just think that this is promising, and I do see this happening, especially because of the fact that the DS, like one of the next consoles for them to really start pushing out games on, because of course with the NSO we're up to GameCube, right? If you're thinking about what's next, I'm pretty sure it's DS and Wii era. So I don't know, I think that sounds really promising, and I'm really excited to see what actually comes out of this. I don't think anything's gonna happen soon, but hopefully within the next, I don't know, year, 2 years, 3 years even. We just know that Nintendo are kind of playing the long game right now. They are still, you know, announcing things every couple of months. We should be getting another big direct in September that hopefully is going to announce maybe like the 2027 slate, or at least some 2027 games for Nintendo and the Switch 2. If I had to assume though, I do think that they are working on this and they're probably trying to figure it out. I think it just makes logical sense, and it would be another one of those things that would be a very good seller for the Switch 2. Like another difference between the Switch 1 and the Switch 2, you know, being maybe that the Switch 2 could be the console that allows you to play DS games or some Wii games. It's going to be really cool to see what exactly they are going to do with the Switch 2, because over time, it's definitely going to kind of develop itself and make itself a little bit more unique, and I'm just hoping for some really big stuff, really big announcements. And of course, with the DS, I personally have a ton of nostalgia. With the DS, you know, the DS Lite, DSi, 3DS, I have so much nostalgia with those consoles, so I personally would absolutely love that. Let me know your thoughts though. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today's video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and let me know what your favorite story was from today's video. How are you feeling about the future of Nintendo? I'll see you in the next one. Peace.